And we are live. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to another episode of AI Clubhouse. We've got the whole team here. Steve, good to see you. Scott,
always good to see you.
Frank, my friend, how are you?
Fabulous. So, I'm glad Steve's here. I didn't know that he was even real.
Yeah.
Oh, come on now, Frank. I think it was 3 months ago we did an episode together on here, but when it wasn't even called AI Clubhouse.
Right. It was probably more than 3 months too. But anyway, good to see you. Good, glad you're here.
On the road. Hey, Steve, I was watching a video on YouTube, and this guy had done the whole video thing where it's the imposter videos where they're actually able to clone very realistic videos of people, and it's getting into that whole conversation of, is it real or is it not real? And could be some issues coming up with the election, a lot of false news out there. So maybe you're not real.
What's that silly commercial that what's her name, Jennifer Coolidge, is on when she says, "Is this a real person?" And they say, "Are you a real person?" She says, "How do I prove it?" So, but I promise you, I'll pinch myself and show that I am real.
Very good. I love it. So, topics of AI, obviously there's so much to talk about. And we did today that we would have Scott lead off the conversation into really something I haven't played around with a lot. I live in chat and I live in chat. And so I'm really excited about this. Steve, you had suggested to really, if you're watching us on a live stream, which we are now streaming to Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. So we changed a couple weeks ago, the beginning of the month. So we're doing that. So if you can type into the chat box, the question, whatever you are watching us on, and I'll look for comments on that, and let us know if, first of all, where you're at with AI. Are you using chat? Have you heard of Claude? Because that's something we're going to talk about today. So, Steve, was there something else you wanted to ask in that?
Mine were, have you used Claude at all? Because that's what we're talking about. And in usage of AI, where are you? 1 through 10. 10, I use it every day. I should be teaching this. You guys should shut up. I know more than any of you on this call. And 1 saying, hey, I don't even know how to spell AI. Right? I mean, I just want to know where everybody is.
Okay.
I figured out how to spell it last week.
What'd you say, Scott?
I did figure out how to spell it last week.
Excellent.
Yeah, but you forgot.
Overachiever.
Yeah. I love it. Okay, so let's talk about Claude. And Scott, I'm going to let you start off with just kind of an explanation of what it is.
Claude.
Yeah, it sounds like it should be pulling a sleigh in a Budweiser commercial. No, Claude was actually a group of OpenAI employees that had a more, oh gosh, what's the best way to describe it? Their mission is to create a more ethical and fair AI. So it's not to say that OpenAI isn't focused on that, but this group of OpenAI employees they have a different idea of what equality and fairness and all of that stuff looks like. So there was a group of engineers from OpenAI, and the company is called Anthropic. And their AI is called Claude, and it's Claude.ai. And
there is an E in Claude, correct?
Correct. Actually, let me
spell it out for people just so they know. It's sort of a...
Yeah, let me also share my screen with you.
It's Claude, folks. CLAUDE.ai.
.ai. There you go.
And who is it? Who is it on? So Fred Krieger, thank you for that. So he is saying never heard of Claude.
Okay. So this is Claude. There's a free version of it. This is the free version of it, very similar to ChatGPT. Claude 2 weeks ago just released their big updates, and they introduced a paid version, which is called Opus. So they actually have like 3 new versions of it. This one is called Sonnet, and then there's another one, and then Opus, I think, is maybe Opus is the big one that we have access to, and then they've got even another one. But the benchmarks that they use to measure AI are like mathematical equations, logic questions, and then they have certain standardized tests like programming tests and math tests and English tests. And the paid version of Claude is ranking higher than ChatGPT 4 almost across the board.
Ranking higher in what?
In
ranking higher in users?
No, in just in speed and accuracy, and just speed and accuracy, conciseness, logic. It is a smarter LLM. It is a smarter AI.
I always thought, and Scott, correct me if I'm wrong, the real the real differentiator when it came to Claude is it was great at analyzing data sets, files, and uploads into it. Am I incorrect on that, or?
No, you're 100% correct on it. I'm not quite sure. Did I just stop sharing my screen? Could you see my screen before?
No.
Oh, you couldn't?
Nope.
All right. Let me see if I can.
No, but in the time you were talking about it, I registered and got an account. So.
Okay.
Now your screen popped up. There you go.
There you go. We see it.
Oh, now we can see it. Okay.
Is this the paid version, Scott, or no?
No, this is the free version.
Okay. And do you know what the paid is? How much it is? Just off the top of your head. Sorry to interrupt.
$20 a month.
Sorry.
Same as 20.
Same as chat. Okay.
Yep. Same as chat, and same as the pro version of Perplexity. Perplexity is the AI powered search engine that you can use either Claude, ChatGPT, or any other number of things. Steve, to answer your question, yes. When Claude was introduced, it was the very first AI to allow you to upload files, and it could scan files and documents. The other thing that is unique with Claude is the amount of data that you can upload and that it'll give you back. And what they call a contextual window is the amount of data that it can focus on at one time. So ChatGPT used to be 12,000 characters, like 12,000 words, 12,000 things. Claude is 200,000. ChatGPT is now at 128,000, but Claude is still at 200,000, which means you can literally give it. Well, Claude was the very first one that I uploaded the underwriting manuals to.
Right.
So it'll take the VA underwriting guide. It'll take a couple thousand pages in a book, or hundreds of pages in a book, and then you can engage with it. And then just recently, it's now has the ability to look at images and describe images. But ChatGPT has been able to do that for a long time. And Google.
Paid version of ChatGPT has been able to do that for a long time.
Right.
I don't think the free allows that.
No.
Free still doesn't allow that?
I don't think so.
Well, Google does. And I think Google actually does a better job. I haven't played with Claude's yet, but I thought Google's did, because Google was using Google Lens, and the Google Lens technology has been around for a really long time.
And Scott, just to keep everybody going back to the basics,
Yep.
Google used to be Bard. It is now
Gemini.
So if you're looking up Google, folks, we're looking at Gemini. When I look at Claude, the way I was watching loan officers, the way they were doing AI differently, let's just say for a second, you got your CRM. What I was watching was that LOs would do their, hi, help me create the email, help me create the text, help me create the information. They were using that for ChatGPT. Claude was, here's all my database. Now help me sort it out and figure out what percentage of my leads came from this source, or that it analyzed your stuff a lot better for you, so that you could figure out, okay, wow, I have a lot of first-time home buyers, or I've been doing a lot with this type of a real estate agent. It analyzed your data better for you. That's how I've been seeing the LOs use the difference between those two platforms.
Yeah, and that's been my experience as well, Steve. I think Claude, I continue to use multiple platforms just to see how they perform against each other. Some of them do better at different things, but Claude pretty consistently does better on spreadsheets and PDFs, for sure.
Didn't you load something into both the other day? You were telling me, Scott, that Claude normally would do better at, and ChatGPT did better at it.
Yeah, and I mean, these things are always buggy. I had a 1,200 line spreadsheet that I uploaded it to Claude, and Claude said it generated an error. So we just copied and pasted the same prompt in the document over to ChatGPT, and it cranked it out without any problem. These things are buggy, you know. I mean, like this isn't set in stone. This isn't concrete. It's quicksand.
But moving from one to the other, and I think that's the thing too, is don't be afraid to experiment. But if you're going to start with one, and then play around with the other. And you're on the free version, so everything you're getting in that right now is on the free version. So if you decide to upgrade and do the $20 a month to the Claude, then it could produce different results. The same as ChatGPT. On the free version, it doesn't really, it'll give you a few things, but when you upgrade to the paid version on GPT, it's amazing. Frank, I still need to set up your customized GPT for you.
Yeah. Hey, I'm open. Everything. I love it. This stuff is just so great.
There's so many different ones. To me, I always think it's going back to Kleenex, right? Kleenex is actually a brand name. Right. It's facial tissue. There's 100 different brands of facial tissue, but Kleenex has the name. Yeah. ChatGPT, it got the name, and everybody jumped on that. But these other facial tissues or AI platforms you got to figure out which one is the best for your nose, so to speak, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Claude does really, really well with copywriting as well, where sometimes sometimes GPT likes to slide into like a sort of a metaphor hell, where it's like, don't miss this opportunity, jump on this ship before it sails away. Like, it likes to say that a lot. Claude seems to do a lot better. Claude does a pretty good job of copywriting. It's not as fluffy and salesy. I've used it for that a lot as well, especially if you're doing a large amount of copy.
Now, Gemini was really strong because it's through Google at doing research for you, because it can scour it. How is Claude at doing research for you?
Claude does not have access to the internet.
Oh.
So it still does not have access to the internet. It has a pretty large database that it's trained on, and I don't know what the last data set is that it's been trained on. But right now, Claude doesn't have access to the internet, so that's the difference between that and ChatGPT and Gemini.
So
but Gemini is trained to be an AI-powered search engine. It's a research tool,
right?
Yeah. But it's not connected to the internet, so the research it's going to do is what you input into it.
No, Gemini. We were talking about
Gemini. Okay, Gemini.
But Claude, you can give it whatever you want. You can copy and paste, like I said, 200,000 characters, or upload a book or a PDF or something to it.
I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, as a recap, so we have 3 different platforms that do somewhat similar things. So obviously open source, we have the ChatGPT, the Anthropic, which is what we're talking about today, which is Claude, not connected to the internet. So ChatGPT connected to the internet through Google Bard, which is interesting.
Not through Bing.
Or through Bing, I'm sorry. And so it's connected to the internet on the paid version. And then the Anthropic, which is Claude, not connected to the internet. And then we have Google, which is now Gemini, which used to be Bard, which is connected to the internet. So we're talking about really 3 different platforms.
Yes.
And here's how I break it down. Back to my original example. Scott said I was right. So I'm like, amen, hallelujah. First off, I learned I should never wear this shirt when we get online. It's looked fine with Zoom, but boy, this looks just horrible on this stream. Sorry about that. I look like I'm Jerry Garcia. How you doing? So what happens is, right? So if I'm sitting here and listening, okay, so I'm looking at ChatGPT. That does that writing, salesy type stuff to be able to produce what am I trying to say here. Then when I look at my Claude, I'm going, here's my own data set that I'm going to put in, and it could be guidelines or whatever, and help me analyze that. And then when I look at Gemini, hey, that's powered by Google. So if I'm an LO, I say, what are the top 10 places for first-time home buyers that I should be looking at, or something like that. That when you want it to go explore the internet, that's where you're going to play most with Gemini. That's my breakdown.
Yeah. No, I was just going to say those 3 companies, the reason I think they're the biggest players is just the money behind them. Anthropic has a relationship with Amazon, invested $4 billion. And Anthropic is using Amazon's cloud services. And I don't know if you guys saw that Google Gemini is now talking to Apple about bringing Gemini features to iPhones. So they're going to use the Gemini AI and Apple.
And Microsoft has Companion now. So there's the 4th one.
And then Microsoft is Microsoft. So like those are the giants, right?
Yeah. And you think about the money being put into this. Crazy.
It's crazy.
Go ahead, Frank.
Quick question, Scott, maybe you know this. Okay, so in Claude, like in ChatGPT, you can create your own GPTs, right? And kind of customize them and name them with the paid version. It's really cool. And you can make them be this person, whatever. And then can you do that in Claude? Does it have like? Okay.
No, not yet. There's a platform out there, and I haven't used it a lot, so I don't want to talk too much about it, but it's called POE.com. And you can connect the Claude API or the ChatGPT AI, and it'll create custom GPTs. Okay.
How about this? In Gemini, does Gemini have a paid version, or is it just it is what it is?
Yeah. Now, when they rolled out Gemini, there's 3 versions of it. The paid version, it was 60 or 90 days for free. So when they switched it over to Gemini, they introduced a paid version that has to be attached. And I think it's $20 a month, and it's attached to your Google Business account. But it's pretty deeply integrated with your Google Business and Drive and all that stuff.
Okay, but does Gemini work in the same capacity as like a ChatGPT? Hey, do this for me, or similar, like, hey, I want to write a blog post about this, write it, or no? Or is it more search oriented? Get me information about this, get me information about that.
So again, this might be above my pay grade, but here's what my observation is. It's trained as a search engine. Okay. Whereas OpenAI was trained as a conversational bot. So as it's training it, it's teaching it to train. Gemini, it will write really good articles. So yes, it'll do it. Like writing copy and things like that, that's pretty basic, and it will do a pretty decent job of it. And again, it just depends on what day. like last couple of weeks, ChatGPT's been super buggy. It seems it's okay right now, but
I'm just wondering on the Gemini side, the paid version, what if it's and again, this might be above your pay grade. I totally we're all kind of scratching the surface of this stuff, but in Gemini, being that it's search oriented, the paid version, what more does that get me? Is it just I have easier access, I can get in faster, or is
that integrates with your Google account? So that integrates with your Drive and your Gmail and your calendars. And
I think we're going to have to dive into that, Frank. I think that's a whole nother thing.
Yeah, that's a good one to look into.
And
me
that might
see.
be more of a business application because and maybe that's what it comes down to as we start uncovering all of these is, one becomes research, one becomes your business application that keeps you organized, because if it can connect with your Google Drive and all of those things, then it could help in that. And then chat becomes your marketing. So somebody, and here's the thing, as we're having these conversations, what we're talking about this time next year is going to be completely different.
Yeah.
And that's the whole thing. This is very fluid. It's changing every day. And the most important thing is pick one. Just pick one and start with it. I think, and I've played in all of them, not as much as Scott has. I've started playing around with the Gemini now that Google has changed over to that. And it's hard when or it's like, okay, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. It's like, just pick one. ChatGPT is a great one to start with and become a master at that. And then look at some of the other things. And honestly, that's why we changed this group to the AI Clubhouse, is so we can start exploring those. So if you are listening or you're watching this and you have experience and you've been dabbling around and had some success, let us know, because we'd love to have you on to really talk about that and what that looks like. We're all learning together. Okay, take us in here, Obi-Wan. Can you give us an example on Claude?
That's you, Scott.
Claude? Well, I don't know how this works really well, and I don't know if this is going to. Let me see if I have any examples in here. So here's.
Folks, just look at this screen for 1 second. I'm not trying to be repetitive, but when you want to pull up your data or you want to pull up your guidelines, that's where you see that little paper clip where it says start chat, that right there. That's where you upload the information that you're trying to analyze or review. I just want you to see sort of like visually how that all
Scott,
works.
do you have access to the VA guidelines on your desktop at all? Do you have that somewhere?
Yeah, I think I have a thread here, but something's goofy. Things are running really slow right now. So this is what I wanted to show you. So you can upload up to 5 10 meg files. And
you just did that. You uploaded a ton of stuff for one of your clients recently, right?
Yeah, that was ChatGPT though.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Okay, so here's an example.
The disc,
yeah. So this one I call, the Ask Your Higher Self GPT. And basically
I'm going to back you up. So you clicked on that. Is that a prompt that you have set up, or is that a previous conversation that you've had with Claude?
Previous chat conversation. It's chat history.
Okay.
So
what he just clicked in, so down there's his, that gives you the same as what ChatGPT has on the left side, all of your conversations, and it automatically will save it. You can name it. So if you want to come back and use something, you can do that. It's one of the biggest challenges I run into with chat because I use it so much. Frank, you probably run into this too. It's like, where was that chat that I did on?
Yeah.
When did
I tend to rename them. Like if it's something I want to come back to, I'll just quickly rename it something so I can just go find it.
I've actually started.
I do too, Ginger. Like it just.
I've started a spreadsheet. And one of the things too, if you have a custom GPT, if you click on that GPT, it will show you what your chats, it'll be like 10 chats you've had on that. But I've started taking, because you can share those conversations. And so I have a spreadsheet and I name it and I put those on there. And I've honestly divided it into different categories now because and I'm sure in the future they're going to have it to where all of that can happen. But if there's a certain chat that I want to come back to, then I want to pull that chat in, and then you can take off from where you left off on it. So if it's something like, for example, I'm working with a client right now, we're actually writing a book on reverse mortgage. And so we have that chat that we have on our spreadsheet. So when we meet each week and we go back into that, we just pull that up. So it's an easy thing to do. Okay, where are we at?
I just asked Jim.
I don't know. It's 5 minutes to the top of the hour. Really, it's it's going to look and feel exactly the same as ChatGPT. If you've entered in information to ChatGPT, you deal with it. You deal with it the exact same way. You prompt it. I can tell you that there are papers coming out for both ChatGPT and Claude that are saying and that's saying that it is doing a better job of writing prompts than people are. So a lot of times you can ask it, how do I write this prompt? Here's what I'm trying to do. How should I write this prompt? And Claude is definitely one of those where you can tell it to take your time, go back and think about this more and come back to me with a better answer or something like that. Anthropic just came out with a really big white paper that kind of walked you through that process. And it really said, take your time, ask it to go back and consider and try again and all this kind of stuff.
I love it.
Yeah, very, very cool and very, very interesting.
So I'm seeing something on there. It says transcribe handwritten notes. So you can upload, say if you have, meeting notes or something like that, and it'll transcribe those.
Yeah, that's brand new. That's the same thing as Google Lens and ChatGPT, where you can put an image and it'll read it.
I didn't even know that the Google Lens would do that for handwritten notes. That's pretty cool. I know I have, I'm going to a client's office in April, and I wanted to put the agenda together. And, normally I'd sit down and organize it and do all that. I just put the items that I was going to be covering into chat, and I said, organize this and, give me what we're going to talk about and everything. It did a better agenda than I could have ever thought about doing. And it was just by putting in, hey, here's what I want to talk about, put it into time slots. We're going to be here for 2 days. So those are the things, when you're thinking about different things you can use these for, that's what's fun, is experimenting with that. Taking a handwritten note and transcribe it. I mean, how valuable is that? You think about how many conferences, Frank, when Carl has, his conference, it's like, how many notes do you take writing down?
Yeah.
And then, where's that notebook at? What were those notes? Honestly, you're sitting in a conference, you're seeing Steve Richman talk about leadership and you're taking notes. Pull out your phone, because you can have chat as an app on your phone, take a picture of it and ask it to transcribe it. And then you save it. And now you have access to it. Those are the things that are exciting. Those are things that all of this is going to make our lives so much better by looking at the ways you can use that.
Mm-hmm.
I love it.
Yeah.
Poe.com, I have not heard about. So thank you, Scott, for that. I'm going to check into that.
Mm-hmm.
I think probably playing around with the Google Gemini is something for us to explore, especially if it's connecting with Google Drive and your Google business. So I think that we can all play around with that, see what we're seeing there, bring that in. And if you guys have questions, the whole idea is, what are your questions? Creating that conversation. Make sure and post those in our group. Shoot us an email, send smoke signals, send a message on chat, whatever. But those are things we want to know. So, Scott, thank you so much for an introduction to Claude. And I think probably that's a good one to get into in the future. Next week, we have Chelsea Gardner on, and Chelsea is a social media marketing specialist. And she also co-authored the book with me, which is the ChatGPT prompt guide. And so she is going to be talking about proper prompting, how to set it up, how to use it in your social media, and all of that. So I'm excited to have Chelsea on to talk about that. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very good. So very good. Well, I want to thank all of you who joined us. We've got a lot of you who are on our Facebook group. We are on StreamYard now. I am going to get better about putting the link. So if you do want to actually register and watch us on your device, you can do that. There is a StreamYard link for that. Otherwise, just join us right here. And we always have a recording. You can go back and watch previous episodes. And that is at aiclubhouse.co, or just click on the link in our Facebook group. So guys, thank you.
Ginger.
Frank? Yes.
where do we find these recordings and the live streams on YouTube? Is it a channel?
Yeah. So if you go to
is it AI Clubhouse?
No, it's actually under, I have a channel for AI that's called AI Mastery Center. So if you go to YouTube.
Oh, okay. I see it in the chat. Okay. AI Mastery Center. Okay.
Yep. So go to AI Mastery Center. You can also go to AIClubhouse.co. The .com was $300. I didn't want to pay that.
That's an expensive M.
It's an expensive M. We can drop off the ad. But if you go to that AI Clubhouse, and then other things that I have, we have the AI Beehive, which is the directory that I created that has a ton of different MoveTube is there. And so those are kind of things. Frank, this is off topic, but the MoveTube timing with the whole NAR thing, dude.
It couldn't have been a better scenario. Like,
right?
I know I'm trying to get the word out too. It's like, this is like the product to have right now. It really is. And
I think we need to get some messages out on that.
Yeah, it's really good. Agents are eating it alive, and they should, because it does help them. It helps them, especially with what's coming down the pipe. Yeah,
exactly.
There's a lot of bad info that's going on right now about what's going on with those real estate agents.
Oh, sure is. Yeah.
Please know that.
Yeah. So stay tuned. And you guys, thank you so much. I'm hearing great news from a lot of originators in the market that listings are happening, deals are happening. I know, Steve, you're out there speaking a lot. So I think you're
real
seeing
estate
that.
office today, and they were like, spring is alive and well.
Yeah. Yeah. We're seeing that definitely. So woohoo, we love that. Okay, guys, we will see you next week. Have a great week.
Bye.
Adios.
Okay. Bye.